We've got breaking news out of the NFL where the Raiders are trading Darren Waller to the Giants. That's been confirmed by our lead NFL insider, Jonathan Jones. Las Vegas will reportedly receive a third-round pick in this year's draft in return for the tight end. The Pro Bowler has spent the past 5 seasons with the Raiders, though hampered by a hamstring injury last year, appearing in just 9 games. He had 28 receptions for 388 yards and 3 touchdowns. And for more on this, let's now welcome in our lead NFL insider, Jonathan Jones. JJ, before we came on, I was asking you about this particular deal. Waller signed a 3-year extension last year just before the season started for $51 million, but you said you weren't surprised that the Raiders traded him to the Giants.
No, not all that surprised. They have been looking to deal him for some time, and obviously they did that contract extension last year because they really and truly had to. There was a lot of pressure in order to get that done. And then, of course, Darren Waller ended up on the injured reserve for the Raiders for a large chunk of this season. If you add up the time that he's missed over the past 2 years, it equals almost a full season. And so the Raiders also were going to have to owe him about $12.5 million in cash this year. Obviously, they've made a number of moves. And so the fact that they're trading him away, somewhat surprising because of the talent that he is, but also when you look at the injury rate the last 2 years, when you consider that he's 30 years old, you consider that the Raiders are always making moves, not all that surprising, Jeremy.
Yeah, and 2020 and 2019, really his 2 biggest seasons. He had over 1,000 yards both seasons. One of those seasons, 107 in terms of reception numbers, but as you mentioned, a steady decline. So what does this tell you about the Raiders' plans here, because now it's just Foster Moreau in terms of that tight end position? Does this give you any insight into maybe what the Raiders are looking at doing as they move into the future without Waller?
Yeah, maybe just playing a little less with the tight ends, I think. And look, they went out and signed Jacoby Myers earlier today, and talking with folks around the league, certainly seems like his skill set is a duplicate of Hunter Renfro's, but and talking with more folks, it's that Myers can play a little bit more on the outside. They already have Devontae Adams, of course. They franchise tagged Josh Jacobs, who is none too pleased, according to his Twitter account, with the trade of Darren Waller. And so maybe they're going to be a little bit more pass happy. Maybe they're going to be a faster paced offense with Josh McDaniels. Perhaps those are all going to be what they do. Obviously, the Raiders wind up getting the number 100 overall selection in this upcoming draft, and so they'll be able to add, hopefully, to the defense, if that's what they wind up doing with the Raiders. And so, Waller, a mainstay there, obviously one of the better tight ends when healthy in the entire NFL, but a guy that, again, has struggled with health. It appears to be a new era with the Raiders now as they move forward with Jimmy Garoppolo and Jacoby Myers and Hunter Renfrow, at least right now. Obviously, something can happen there, but in trading Waller, something that I believe came together rather quickly, I think that's a good sign if you have Hunter Renfrow at the Raiders stock, that he should be sticking around.
And what about for the Giants here? Obviously, some flux in their tight end position, but they bring in a guy who's a proven commodity in Waller, another weapon for Daniel Jones.
It's huge for the New York Giants. Again, he has to stay healthy. That's the blanket caveat here. But, the Giants, while they had some money to work with, Joe Schoen, the general manager, said that they weren't going to be minimum spending this upcoming year like they did last year, but it didn't mean that they were going to be making a whole bunch of splash moves like we've seen maybe from the Chicago Bears or the Miami Dolphins. They got Daniel Jones on that contract and were able to get his cap number for 2023 low. Of course, they still have Saquon Barkley on a franchise tag that's almost $11 million. And so they have a little bit of money to work with. They're going to bring on Darren Waller and his contract, but we know right now the free agent wide receiver market is not very strong. We knew that for some time. They're going to be bringing back Sterling Shepard, of course. I think the Giants could always be interested potentially in an Odell Beckham Jr. if the numbers wind up working out. But this gives you, if they don't add anyone better than Waller, certainly at the wide receiver position, this gives you a number 1 receiving threat finally for Daniel Jones. I don't know that they're going to stop here necessarily, but that gives you someone, a reliable target that you can throw to that ultimately only costs you the number 100 overall pick, which you got from the Chiefs when you dealt Kadarius Toney to them a couple of months ago.
Giants tight ends in the lower third of the league last year in terms of receptions, receiving yards, and touchdowns. Our lead NFL insider, Jonathan Jones, joining us to break down the news. Darren Waller traded from the Raiders to the Giants. Thank you very much, JJ, for hopping on with us real quick. And of course, they'll be talking about this, and there's been a ton of moves as we approach the opening of the free agency window on Wednesday, and they'll be talking about all this over on the Pick Six podcast. Will Brinson and all the super friends breaking things down for you. You can download and follow wherever you get your podcasts.
Do you want a sports network that delivers everything that matters about the game? The highlights, the picks, the instant analysis, no yelling, no fake debates, no politics. Hit the subscribe button and never miss a moment.